This is a Tonfa. Now this one I've had made personally, but you can buy these from any reputable martial arts shop, right? I do recommend that you have a long shaft on this as opposed to the short Okinawan one, and you'll see why when we're making the DVD. To practice the movements, I'm going to come into Yoi, which is a ready position. I've got my feet together, hands by my side, I breathe in through my nose, and then I take my right leg out and just close my fists in front, taking a tight grip onto the Tonfa with my left hand. First movement I'm having a look at is a rising block and forward stance. I'm going to step forward and block with this. Now when I'm doing this, I need to turn my hand into the Tonfa, so that way it locks the Tonfa down onto my arm and I've got a nice strong position. Other hand is just back onto the hip. I'll turn around this way so you'll get a different position. I step forward and block coming out onto it. And finally, if I turn around here so you can see this way, I raise up and block. Outside forearm block and forward stance. Holding it in my left arm, I swing it out and block out to the side. Tonfa is making a nice contact point with the outside of my forearm. If I change my position, I move forward and block out. And again, from a different angle for you, I move and block. Inside forearm block and forward stance. When I'm doing this, I'm bringing my right arm over my left and blocking out. I'm holding the handle of the Tonfa, and for the last movements it was to the outside. Now what I'm doing is I'm switching it the opposite way, so it becomes an inside forearm block and forward stance. If I change my position over, again I can block through, and changing around so you can see a different angle, I move forward and block. Outside forearm block, forward stance. Now what I'm doing on this, I'm swinging the Tonfa across my body, so if an attack is coming in here, I raise my arms up, my arms have gone to my left side, and then I swing across and do a block with it. So move in and block. Change my position for you so you can see a block. Now I'm bending on the back knee, but I'm still looking forward. And around to this way, arm comes out to the side, arms have gone across the waistline, this is to my left side, and then a block to finish. Downward sweeping block and straddle stance. Now what I'm doing on this, I'm crossing my arms over, so my left arm goes to my right shoulder, right arm comes in front, a look, move into a straddle stance position, so I'm dropping my stance down and swing the Tonfa out to the side. So I cross, swing out, bring it back. If I move forward this way, so you see a side angle position, I strike out, bring it back. And from the back part on it, I've come into my straddle stance, swing out and back to finish. I've come into a fighting stance, and all I'm doing is a jab. I'm using the Tonfa to strike forward, but I want to move my front foot, so move, jab and move back. If I turn around this way, I move, jab and back, and then over at this angle so you can see a different shot, jab and then move back. I'm going to put a couple of strikes in, and the first one's going to be a reverse strike. You could almost call it Gyakuzuki as a reverse punch. I'm going to step with my left and strike coming out. When I'm doing this, you want to lock the Tonfa so it's in a strong position. Step with my left. The edge of this goes to the centre line of my body, so I've got a powerful movement. Now if I move off to the side this way, you can see it strikes coming out. And again, if I do this from a reverse position, so you can see the opposite angle. Making a lunge strike. I pull the Tonfa over to my left side, I step forward with my left leg and strike coming out with it. So I move in, strike out. If I change off to this side on it, arms go across the waist and I strike out. And again, if I change my angle over, arms come across the waist first, stepping forward into stance and then striking out. Combining movements, Jodo-Nagyuki, a rising block, with Gyakuzuki. Technically it's not Gyakuzuki because it's a punch, but I'm just using these as references. I'm going to step forward, rising block first, and a reverse strike coming out. So I move 1 and 2. Off this side, 1 and 2. And changing my angle over, 1 and 2. Outside forearm block, forward stance on movement 1 and a lunge strike on 2. So I move 1 and 2. Moving off to the side this way, 1 and 2. And around to this side, 1 and 2. I've taken a fighting stance and I'm moving forward, inside forearm block first, jab and move back. Inside forearm block, jab and back. Changing my angle around, block, jab and back. And over onto this side, block, jab and back to fighting stance. Going to have a look at a rising cross block. On this I want to step forward and I'm going forward with my left leg, but my right arm comes on top of my left. So a move coming in, but I just want to show you strikes after this when you're doing the movement. So I step, block up, strike, move back. The same can be done on a downward cross block. I step with my left, right arm comes onto the top, I can strike out and move back. So I'll just show you that again. Cross block going down, strike and back. I'm going to use this part of the Tonfa, and what I'm doing is I'm swinging around this way, and this is going to be classed as a hammer strike. So I step forward and strike out on it. Right? But when I've done that movement, I want to come in and use the other part as a palm heel position. So I come through 1, 2 and finish. Looking at a back stance and blocking out to the side this way. Right? Once I'm in my back stance position, I'm going to draw my foot back so I come into Niko Ashidashi, which is the cat stance, roll my fist as if I'm going to do Urakenuchi, and then strike coming out with the Tonfa. So I have 1, move in, strike, back and finish. I'm doing a flexible strike moving out to the side with this. This would be a blocking position, but once I block off with this, I'm drawing it back, swinging my body around and then doing like a roundhouse punch. So I step, block out 1, draw it back, strike coming around 2. In a close quarter situation, I'm using a blocking action where I'm using part of my elbow and then driving the Tonfa into the side of the person. So I block on 1, and while I'm in this position, I can uppercut 2. So I have block, draw around and strike out 2. Holding these so both handles are facing outwards. My first movement I want to show you is where I'm visualising a kick coming through and I scoop and move out the way on this. So I'm using my left leg, I step out to the side, scoop. Next movement, I'm striking and I'm using this part as if I'm striking into the throat. Another scooping action that I want to show you is where a kick is coming in and I'm stepping out of the way and I'm just moving off to the side and I'm using the Tonfa handle just to come through and scoop to the side. Once I've done that, I draw the person's leg off balance and then strike out using the edge or the hammer part of the handle. Reinforcing blocking areas gives you extra strength. Now, this is one of the reasons I favour a longer shaft on the Tonfa, because what I'm doing is I'm bringing this forward, but I'm also bringing my hand up onto the back end of it, so that way I've got a strong movement through. And this will be a rising block and forward stance. Off from this, I draw it around, so I change the handle around so it just goes into the bend of my arm, and this is on my right arm, and I can strike out with it. So you can have, look, 1, 2 and back. And off from another angle, blocking up, changing it out, strike and back, and then just changing my angle over, block, strike and finish. Outside forearm block is okay, but for extra strength, I reinforce this. Now as I'm reinforcing it, I don't step too far forward. My angle changes slightly over to the side, so that way I can block as an attack comes around. Off from this, I'm stepping forward and I'm doing a lunge attack. To give myself a little bit more power on this, all I'm doing is just supporting my hand. This is my right hand just going just above my elbow joint. So a movement off from here, block and strike. Reinforcing an inside forearm block. This is a normal block, and all I have to do to reinforce it is bring my one hand up and lock it into position. From that position I want to do a jab, and to reinforce the jab I bring both hands down onto the handle, so I'm wrapping one hand around the other and striking out. So I have 1, 2 to finish.